Hello to the group. Thank you so much for having me today. I know this is a lunchtime area or time of day for most of you, but not for me. So I am positioned in northern Nevada, in the Sierra foothills, right outside of Reno, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous day today. And wish you all continued health and wellness. And would like to talk with you. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. It's somewhat checkered, but not in a bad way. Uh, I tend to have the blessing all of my life to work on things that I want to work on. And in this particular case with Moonmark, it's STEAM related. That is, of course, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And I'll talk to you in just a moment about what Moonmark is and actually our portfolio of projects that we are developing for young people. But in my background, I started out with military service. I served 6 years in the Army, traveled around the world. My last service was in Kuwait City in Desert Storm and in the reconstruction. So the commitment to public service is one that is very, very important to me. And throughout my professional career, which has been in communications and now is in both entertainment and education, and that intersection of those two. It's being a mentor and finding mentors for myself has been both a priority and a challenge. And I was talking with one of the fellow mentors here in the project, and I was telling him, you know, it's really interesting, but people think that I don't need help. People think that I have my stuff together. And oh, by the way, Charlie, you got your stuff together. Okay, but there's so much happening and there's so much opportunity. And when one has lived a professional life of joy and admittedly some success, people think, well, you got it. I don't know that there's anything that I can add that's beneficial to you. And that's really not the case. So in addition to the joy of mentoring young people, and I'm delighted to help in any way that I can in any project. I'm here in no small measure because of the people that are on this call and others that are in the project. So, for example, Andrea, your pursuit as a novelist and your success as a novelist. I've been a writer all my life. I'm a produced playwright, but I'll be doggone if I could get anybody to publish a novel of mine. Okay, I know what it takes to go down that kind of path. In Moonmark, people ask me, "Well, are you a scientist?" And the answer is no. I'm not a scientist. Well, do you write code? And the answer is, well, I write some code, but I'm not really. I wouldn't consider myself a coder or a technologist. And what about an engineer? Are you an engineer? No, I'm not. What about a mathematician? Well, I'm not a mathematician, but I know this guy at Williams College, okay, that might be able to help us out. What I am is very, very much an artist with tentacles and commitment and the joy of working with people like yourselves that are experts in these other areas. And to that, what I have done is created, along with a really tremendous team, the project called Moonmark. And we started out about a year ago. And my commitment in working with Moonmark and creating it was that I wanted to work with young people. I worked with young people in the past. I've been commissioned by the Sir John Templeton Foundation to do several projects, and I'm a grant reviewer for the Templeton Foundation on arts and civic discourse and so forth and so on. So I decided that I wanted to work with young people again. And because the work that I had done before made such an incredible difference in their lives. And I've come now over several years to see the paths that they've chosen and the impact that our work had. I'm immediately coming off a project that I did with military veterans, a television program for CBS Sports called The Triumph Games. And the purpose of the Triumph Games was not to have a sports competition, although that's what it was. The purpose was to tell the stories of people who triumphed over adversity. And that adversity didn't necessarily have to be a catastrophic injury, although in many cases it was. There are many types of adversity, and that show demonstrated to many people in the audience and subsequent to that show how they can be inspired by people such as those military veterans. So with Moonmark, let's transition there. If I may ask, might you please on your computers go to moonmark.space, moonmark.space. That way you will be relieved of the burden of having to look at me, okay? I'm going to take you through the website for a couple of reasons. One, the important information is there, and number two, should you decide to share this, you will have had a bit of an introduction to the website itself. So what you see there is a prototype of a race car that is going to race on the moon. Will our vehicles look like that? Likely not. Will they look like a lunar rover? Charlie, you'll be pleased to know, no, we're not going to race lunar rovers. We have to, and Neil, you too will be pleased to know, rovers are for scientific purposes, what we're doing has a completely different, although analogous mission. So our mission is very simple. It's not to land on the moon. It's not to race on the moon. That's not the mission. The mission is to engage and involve young people in an adventure and a journey whereby they can have the opportunity to create work that will land on the moon. In so doing, what their tuition for this is, that they must engage with young people throughout the world. And as Andrea's son will tell you, the purpose of getting teams together is to get different, what is your son's name? I see you hiding over there. I'm sorry, what is his name? What is his name?
Alexander.
Alexander. Yeah, you spy, you. I gotcha. I got you over there. Please, I want you to share everything that we say here today with everybody, okay? Including your team and beyond your team. The team should be comprised of those that have an interest in or have done experiments in or so forth in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Those are the teams that are going to be most competitive. So that's how I want to start out here, is that we are not a moon mission, although we will land on the moon, God willing, and we will race on the moon. And in order to do that, you have to apply all of the STEM disciplines and philosophies. So the space race is on, the new space race is on. Can you dream? If you can dream, you can be a moon marker. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be the winner of the script spelling bee. If you can dream, you can be a part of a team that can be a part of Moonmark. Sliding down, this is what we're doing. We are the creator of the experience. So our team is really, really very adept at, and we've done it many, many times before, coming up with unique opportunities and experiences to bring people in and have them experience whatever it is that we've created in a very authentic way. This is not to be confused with reality TV. okay? It is something called unscripted entertainment, but it is not reality TV. What we do is we put people into situations, and then we observe and capture their experiences and their adventures. The drama, so to speak, that often in reality shows is interjected, is not something that we do or are interested in. The things that are going to happen organically in this process, just like, you know, what many of you are experiencing as you go through your work, there's plenty of drama there, okay? Things are going to happen, or they're not going to happen, or things are going to break, or, you know, and in these circumstances, the way that people, in this case, young people, solve for those problems, or they create opportunities. Those are the stories that people really want to see. So we have a series of virtual and, God willing, when the pandemic passes, in-person challenges that will draw young people like Alexander and his team, and we have other teams from across the country. So you already have some competition going there, Alexander. But they're seeking a fun and a once in a lifetime experience to learn something new. Right now, our students there two things are happening. One, of course, most are sequestered at home, and they are going through a virtual learning experience. The other piece of what they're doing is they are experiencing socialization on a very high level virtually. So this is a moment in time in their lifetimes that is fraught with uncertainty, it's fraught with concern, it's fraught with fear. What we want to do is bring them an opportunity that is enhancing, that is fun, that is adventurous, and enables them to also create real impact for their young people, their peers worldwide. So what you see there in the next slide, are you looking for adventure? Do you have an active imagination? Are you artistic? All of those things are intended to speak to young people who think about something like landing on the moon and say, I couldn't ever do that. I don't, one young woman said to me, my friends aren't smart enough for that. And she's brilliant, and her friends are brilliant, but the perception is that it's too hard for me. So we are working diligently on the messaging around that to really encourage everyone who would like to participate and let them know that they have the ability to do it. We are extremely proud. The next slide, our partnership with Intuitive Machines and Charlie and I'm not sure, Neil, whether you know them or not, but they're a very, very amongst the commercialization, space commercialization newcomers. They were formed in 2013 as a part of the Google X Prize for lunar commercialization. The two people that I work with there most, Steve Altimus and Trent Martin. Trent is the head of Aerospace Systems, and Steve is the CEO and co-founder. Both of them come from a deep NASA experience, and so they actually know how to build and launch and land space equipment and humans in space flight. So we have a partnership with them. Their Lunar Sea, Nova Lunar Sea Lander, Nova Sea Lunar Lander. See, that's why I'm not an astronaut. So they just this week announced that they are going to, their nominal launch date is October 11th of 2021. So our partnership with them includes helping them identify opportunities for space commercialization outside government agencies, which is where our space is, so to speak. And for them, for us, they are providing engineering advice, mentorship for our young people, the actual ability to manufacture the vehicles, and the way to get to the moon. So those two vehicles are going to be appended to the side of the lunar sea, Nova Sea. And when they arrive on the lunar surface, they will be disembarked and positioned, and then they will be raced from remotely from Earth. So our partnership with Intuitive Machines, again, I'm none of those things in STEM. I am very much an A in STEAM, but I do have really quite, I'm adept at finding wonderful partners like Intuitive Machines. So we went to market about 3 months earlier than we anticipated because of the pandemic. And we went to market with the Lunar Race Car Design Challenge. And this is specifically intended to, there's a flyer on the inside, design challenge information. This is specifically designed to apply and appeal to people like Alexander and those on his team who are in a situation where they must work virtually. So this design car challenge, this race car design challenge, is intended for them to be able to use that socialization, virtual socialization that they're doing, to get together and do something very, very cool. So Intuitive Machines will and has supplied us with the specifications of the equipment that must be used that is space worthy. So there are several judging criteria for the design challenge, among which is, it's got to work on the moon if it were ever to be built. Right. So and Intuitive Machines has provided us with those specifications. Interestingly enough, as we've gone through this process, what we have learned is that we did look at lunar rovers off the shelf, and what we discovered is something that won't come as a surprise to Charlie and Neil, and that is that the rovers that are in existence or in development right now are very expensive and very time-consuming. And and purposefully so. They are there for scientific work. We don't need that. What we need is we need two vehicles to land on the moon and to race toward a sphere of cameras and to race back to the lunar, and for us to be able to capture that and broadcast it to the world. That does not require the level of roverness that others are building for scientific purposes. So that's a little inside information that our spy on the side there should be listening to. It sounds extremely complex, and it's not simple, but it's simpler than, because of our purposes, and our purposes are to create an adventure and create a journey and to capture the stories of that journey along the way. When we get to the lunar surface, those they will have gone through obviously not only the scientific rigor that's needed to say, yes, these things will work there, but also the testing that's needed before they are applied to the lunar sea, rover sea, Nova Sea. This is another version of one of our rovers, and we built this so that people would get a vision or a visual that is somewhat, it's different from a rover, but it's not quite a race car. What we're doing is something that's an amalgam that's very different. There's a video here that talks about joining the journey. And the Moonmark Lunar Challenge, which is the next, it's mission 1. This is going to actually be the mission that that will result in the vehicles being built and appended to the Nova C. So those are the things that as you were looking through the video there, hopefully. What we're interested in doing is we're interested in capturing the stories of those teams that we start out with many in the virtual world. We get down to 6 teams of 5 students, 1 each for the letter STEAM. Those 6 teams will go through qualifying rounds, and those qualifying rounds will be related to each of the disciplines of STEAM. And then we will reach the final 2 who will build those 2 vehicles. And along the way, the things that we're really interested, the stories that we're interested in capturing are the human experiences and the human decisions around courage and fortitude and teamwork and leadership, because you can't get to the moon unless you have all of those things. You can't win the opportunity to build something to go to the moon without those things. And so what we're going to do is focus on the young people that either have those strengths or they build them throughout this adventure, and then sharing those stories with people around the world. These are some of the people that I am absolutely blessed and honored to work with. And there's one fellow on here on the advisor team that you will notice. His name happens to be Dr. Neil F. Cummins. And I'm going to show you his book in a moment. And Andrea, if I had your book, I'd show that one too. But it's really a super team with different types of expertise that we need to accomplish the mission that I just described. These are things that you can take a look at. The Moonmark leadership, what are our guiding principles? What are our goals? What are our personal connections? And that really explains why we're doing what we're doing. And that can give you some more insight. Now, how do we do this? How do we pay for this? Moonmark is a for-profit business, and the Moonmark model is one that I've used many times in the past. And the way that we earn revenue is that we work with sponsors, not in a philanthropic sense, but in a marketing sense. So that when you have sports events or you have special events or things like that, which are going to come back to our world, you will see sponsors who have very specific goals in why they are supporting that particular event or that particular campaign or whatever it is. So our team is highly specialized in helping sponsors understand how their business goals could be advanced by the nature of what we're doing. So why would a company, like Samsung sponsor a series of events where kids are going to land their work on the moon? That's an example. We work typically we work with enterprise clients because that's the nature of the type of company that aligns with what we're doing. And so that's how what we're doing and how we make money to do it. I'm happy to answer any questions.